This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog, coming at you with another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations, number 12. What does it of these? Wow, it's been 3 months since we all were in lockdown for the most part. Libraries shut down, sports shut down, man. So the first movie I watched was based off a true story of Melita Norwood, this really smart scientist during like the World War and stuff like that. And the whole point was she was working on all this, atom bombs. The United States did it, and they stopped sharing with the British and the Canadians. So, like, the British were trying to work hard on a bomb to level the playing field for the war. Canada was, Russia was, but they stopped sharing secrets with Russia, the British government, and she was very hesitant. Judi Dench as her now, but then the younger version of her was played by Sophia Cookson. And the point of the movie was her decision of her one-time boyfriend and her best friend, who happened to be cousins with each other. It was a little confusing. They were really British people who believed in the Soviet Union, and they were like double agents and stuff like that. So this is what it looks like. It's just a photo of her when she was younger and when she's older, and essentially she eventually wears down and realizes that the Russians don't have the bombs to help themselves out, then they could be blown out. But guess what? If every major power has an atom bomb, it levels the playing field, and then there's no deterrent of another world war. And she was tired of world wars and stuff. So basically, that's the point of the movie. She's secretly giving up plans and blueprints, and then she falls in love with her boss because she's an assistant because they don't consider women to be smart. She works with him. They fall in love. They have family. They have children. They move and stuff like that. It's espionage and stuff. And obviously, he was married in the movie. That's the whole thing. Oh, younger woman starts sleeping with her, but has a wife. They're not in love. Yada, yada, yada. The point is, she supposedly betrayed her country and nobody knew anything about it because she had a friend in the ministry and nobody knew anything. Because, of course, her then husband didn't know anything. So that's how he was able to get out of prison and stuff. But the point is, it's a pretty good movie. It wasn't the best movie, but it was a solid average to above average movie. And at an hour and 41 minutes with credits, so it's an hour and a half-ish. Not a bad movie to watch, like a biopic based on true stories and to see how it all went down. So not bad. Not a waste of time, just not the best movie. Then I watched The Wedding Guest, and Dev Patel did a very, very good job in this movie, trying to sell us on it. But the movie was like all over the place, so I liked it. It was an action, thriller, suspense, heist, type of a movie where he's paid by some British guy to get this woman who was supposedly an Indian, but she lived in the in England when she was younger, and somehow was back in the Middle East. But then she's in one of these Arabic countries like Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, stuff like that. And his job is to get this woman from this really bad place back to England, and they got to meet somewhere. At every turn, there's a snag in the plan. The guy wanted her back, and there's a snag in the plan. He doesn't want her. Things like that. But it was very confusing and all over the place of a movie. The only thing good for it was 90-something minute movie. It was close to an hour and 27, 28. So even though you're confused, the movie moves quick enough that it ends quickly, and it was an okay ending to the movie. And Dev Patel did a good job, but it was subpar. Short movie, watchable, good suspense in it, good acting by Dev Patel, but it's eh. The next movie I watched was what you call a disaster horror film called Crawl. Supposedly this collegiate girl's a great swimmer, and she's at University of Florida, and her father is not at his condo because he can't get over his wife and him splitting or whatever, she passing away. Whatever the point is, he goes back to the old house that they were trying to sell. He's in danger and he's not answering his phone. So the sister calls the main character, go look for her, and go look for him. And of course, the main actress in the movie, Kaya Scodelario, has to go back and look for him, and then they get stuck, and it's not just this horrible hurricane is coming to Florida, and they got to evacuate, and there's flooding. There's also gators in Florida, and they got to escape gators as well. Now, it's not a Jaws movie, you got to escape thing, but these alligators look really real, so you got to deal with the hurricane and the flooding and the rain and alligators. So it was a pretty good survival, movie, an hour and 20-something minute movie. So you're on the edge of your seat hoping that the girl and her father make it out. you're on the edge of the seat because there's alligators and all this flooding and rain and all this stuff you got to deal with. So, it was a pretty good movie. Not that long. Pretty well put together of a movie, so I'd suggest watching Crawl. The next movie we watched was Stuber. Now, this movie was a buddy cop action movie where Dave Bautista, who, the only thing I didn't like about this movie was that he pretty much couldn't beat up a guy, the bad guy who was selling drugs and heroin and stuff, in a fight when the beginning of the movie starts, and even during the movie that he's much better than him in martial arts and fighting when he's a former wrestler and an action movie star. Like, I feel like they kind of sold him short on his fighting ability in this movie. But then he also has glasses and he can't see, but he's been a detective for a long time with glasses, which isn't really that believable that he didn't get contact. But the movie starts, he gets LASIK eye surgery, and he's supposed to be off his feet, but he's taken off the case and it goes to the Fed. And he doesn't want to handle that well because he lost his partner, yada yada. So he goes after this bad guy, calls for an Uber because he can't see, and this Uber driver, who's played by Kumail Nanjiani, who's always looking for the 5-star rating because he has a day job at a sports authority type of place, and every time he does everything he possibly can to get a 5-star, they give him horrible ratings, and he's trying to not lose the ability of being a good driver and getting money because he just wants to make money. Is forced into being his Uber driver because he's a cop. He forces him to go to all the crime scene, take down the bad guy, follow all the leads, puts him in danger. So it's hilarious because he's like, I can't do this. Why am I belonging here? You're just like kidnapping me. And the other thing is, his supposed like friend in the police force, she's shady. And then here's the thing, no offense to Dave Bautista, but Natalie Morales, who had her own show, The Abbey, Abby's, Welcome to Abby's, the bar in the back, and she was in Parks and Recreation, all these other things. She's 35 years old. Dave Bautista, on the other hand, is only 51. So it's possible that he had a kid when he was very, very young, when he was like an 18 or 20, that he, 30 years later in his 50s, he's having a child. Now, if the movie they want to make him in his 40s and his daughter in his 20s, maybe, but it seemed like she was in her mid-30s, the actress, the character and stuff, and he seemed like he was in his 50s, in his 40s, so it didn't really make that much sense there. But it's a pretty good action buddy cop movie where, of course, you got a bumbling idiot and the cop who thinks he knows what he's doing, and they all help each other out, and then it has a good ending. And the movie is like a 97-minute movie, but it's a little less, like an hour 28, 27 minutes. So it's definitely worth your time to watch Stuber, because it's not that long, and it was pretty funny, and had a lot of action in it. Then, the next movies that I watched were Them That Follow. And I was like, it's got Jim Gaffigan in there. It's got Walter Goggins. It's got Caitlin Dever. I was like, you know what? It's going to be an interesting movie. And even though it's listed an hour and 40-something minutes, it turned out to be closer to, 90-something minutes. So that was pretty good. Now, obviously, it's about this, cult. They believe in snakes is their power in the middle, nowhere, small type of town. And Walter Goggins plays the father of a woman he marries off to somebody. She has a relationship with a guy, played by Thomas Mann, and that Jim Gaffigan's son, and they all believe in this thing. Caitlin Dever's the girl who lives with them because her mom left her. And I was like, so she couldn't get the rights and the ability to get a contract down to come back to play Eve, the best character on Last Man Standing's TV show, the past couple of years since it's been on Fox. And she's only been a couple of times per season because she was busy. I understood the movie Booksmart. That movie was great. It was funny. One of the better movies I've seen in the last couple of years. This movie, on the other hand, was, even though it was 90-something minutes, not really 40-something, it was slow trudging, slow movie. It was boring. It was just a bunch of crap. And I'm sorry to Caitlin and to Jim Gaffigan and Walter Outside Man, but they wasted their time in this movie. It was a horrible movie about this cult. Just don't watch Them That Follow, even if it's got snakes in there. And then the next movie, you think you're watching it, and you're like, it's supposed to be like an hour 50 minutes, but then it's really an hour 40-something, so you save yourself some time there that it's close to the hour and 40-something minute movie instead of being, an hour and 50-something minutes. And it's got Juliana Hough, and it's got Billy Crudup and Abby Quinn. They're pretty good. And basically, this Abby Quinn character runs a orphanage in India. She's trying to get donors, and the only way she's got to go out there in person. And this woman, Julianne Hough, has her own, media company where her son-in-law works for her, and she's married to a successful artist, and she's trying to see if she was going to give the money to him. So she's like, to Abby Quinn's character, and you're like, okay. And she goes, well, I really want to get to know you better and see if I really want to give you the money. So why don't we talk after the wedding? Because somehow she comes in a day or two before the wedding, which was bad planning, in my opinion, of the movie. And supposedly it's based on a book. So they got some source material called based on a Danish Swedish movie called After the Wedding 2006. Basically, she's like, let's talk after the wedding. And supposedly, Julianne Moore's daughter, if I call her Julianne Hough, I meant to say Julianne Moore, played a successful woman who has her own like media company, trying to give out money and being an entrepreneur and a, charitable person and stuff. She tells her to stay. She goes to the wedding, and then she realizes when she walks into the woman's house that her husband, this painter, is her ex-boyfriend. I'm like, ooh, oh, that's cool. And they're wondering where this is going and why Juliana Moore then realizes, wait, this is the ex you talked about? Oh, I'm going to give her the money because she's your ex and to make her stay long. And then you find out that, oh, I'm starting to ruin this movie because it's a waste of your time. That she and this sculptor guy, artist guy, they got pregnant when they were 18 and they decided to give her up. And then she moved to India, never to be seen again. Peace Corps. He decided, like, before the adoption happened, I'm going to keep her and be a single dad. Meets Juliana Moore's character. They become a family. She has twins, and they both are successful. And supposedly this Abby Quinn, oh, my bad. Sorry. Excuse me. Michelle Williams played the woman who comes from India looking for the money for the orphanage, and she had the relationship with Billy Crudup. Abby Quinn plays the daughter. So basically, the woman Isabel, who played by Williams, realizes that her ex-boyfriend never gave up the daughter, and that the wedding she attended was her own daughter's wedding. And that because Juliana Moore's character is slowly dying, that she wants the woman to stay here, get a relationship with her actual daughter, and maybe look after her twins and all be together. This all like crazy thing. And Williams' character, Isabel, thinks it's creepy that she wants her to have a relationship with her stepdaughter, to have a relationship with her kids, and be with the husband. It's all just kind of weird and creepy. And eventually, obviously, she accepts the money. It's good for the orphanage because they could use that money. But yeah, don't waste your time watching this really weird, creepy, slow-trotting movie called After the Wedding. Even though Juliana Moore, Michelle Williams, Billy Crudup, and Abby Quinn are in the movie, don't watch them that follow about the cult, even though it's got Walter Goggins and Thomas Mann and Jim Gaffigan and Caitlin Dever. You definitely should watch Crawl if you want to watch a really good, survival horror film with alligators. And then you should definitely watch Stuber because Dave Bautista and Kumail Nanjiani are great polar opposites in this movie. But don't watch The Wedding Guest. Dev Patel does his best to save it. And don't watch Red Joan. But you can watch Red Joan. Red Joan was an average movie. Don't watch The Wedding Guest. Dev Patel can save it. The People and Then That Follow and After the Wedding. Don't watch either of those three. Red Joan was an average to above average biopic movie. But really, it's Crawl and Stuber are the two best movies I watched this week. Thanks for listening to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations number 12. For On the Radar Entertainment Blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next